The village of Hollow Creek was a forgotten place, a cluster of houses huddled around a cobbled square, overshadowed by the vast ancient woods. The villagers spoke of the whispering forest with fear in their eyes. Legend said it was alive, hungry, and listened to every word uttered within its shadowy embrace. Generations whispered the tales, stories of travelers swallowed whole, their cries silenced by the rustling leaves, of laughter echoing through the trees, cruel and mocking, of faces peering from the bark, watching, waiting. The forest was a living nightmare, and the villagers of Hollow Creek knew better than to tempt fate. They kept to themselves, their faces etched with a shared dread, their lives ruled by the unseen presence beyond their doorsteps. One crisp autumn afternoon, a stranger arrived in Hollow Creek. Daniel, a young man with a thirst for adventure and a head full of skepticism, had heard the stories. He scoffed at the villagers' warnings, dismissing them as superstitious nonsense. "A forest that whispers?" he laughed, throwing his bag down at the village inn. "Sounds like a load of old wives' tales to me." The innkeeper, a stooped old man with worried eyes, shook his head. "Don't underestimate the woods, lad," he warned. "They're best left alone, especially after dark." Daniel just grinned, his mind already set on exploring the forbidden forest. He craved proof, tangible evidence of the mythical whispers. He wouldn't be deterred by campfire stories and frightened villagers. He was determined to uncover the truth, even if it meant venturing into the heart of the whispering woods. The sun dipped below the horizon as Daniel stepped into the forest. The air grew instantly colder, the silence heavy and oppressive. The trees, ancient and gnarled, loomed over him, their branches twisting together like skeletal fingers. He shone his flashlight ahead, the beams swallowed by the impenetrable darkness. The forest floor was a carpet of decaying leaves, muffling his footsteps. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the creaking of branches and the rustling of unseen creatures. He pressed on, deeper into the woods. The shadows deepened, stretching out like grasping claws. He could feel eyes on him, watching his every move. A shiver ran down his spine, but he brushed it off. He wouldn't be deterred by a little darkness and his own overactive imagination. As darkness enveloped the forest, the whispers began. Faint at first, like the rustling of leaves, they seemed to emanate from the very trees themselves. They swirled around him, growing louder, more insistent. He stopped, straining to make sense of the sounds. They were unintelligible, a jumble of voices high and low, murmuring just beyond the range of his understanding. A cold sweat prickled his skin. He shone his flashlight around, but the light revealed nothing but the endless rows of trees. The whispering intensified, swirling around him like a vortex of sound. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest. He was alone in the darkness, surrounded by unseen eyes and the chilling whispers of the forest. A child's laughter pierced the darkness, high-pitched and chilling. Daniel spun around, his flashlight beam dancing wildly. He caught a fleeting glimpse of movement between the trees, a flash of white disappearing into the undergrowth. "Hello?" he called out, his voice echoing strangely in the stillness. "Is anyone there?" The laughter came again, closer this time, followed by the sound of small footsteps crunching on leaves. He followed the sound, his heart pounding in his chest. He emerged into a small clearing, the trees thinning slightly. In the center stood a lone figure, a child in a white dress, her back to him. "Hey there," he said, his voice softer now. "Are you lost? What are you doing out here all alone?" The child slowly turned, her face hidden in shadow. Daniel's blood ran cold. The child's face was blank, her eyes two empty sockets. Her mouth opened in a grotesque grin, revealing rows of sharp, pointed teeth. Daniel stumbled back, his breath catching in his throat. The laughter returned, echoing all around him, but it wasn't coming from the child. Shadows shifted between the trees, resolving themselves into figures, tall and skeletal, their eyes glowing an eerie green in the darkness. They were closing in, their forms indistinct, their movements fluid and unnatural. They moved with a chilling grace, their whispers growing louder, more menacing. Daniel felt a surge of primal terror. He knew with a certainty that chilled him to the bone that he had stumbled into something ancient and evil, something that had lurked in the heart of the whispering forest for centuries. Panic seized him. He turned to flee, but the figures were everywhere, blocking his escape. He stumbled backwards, his foot catching on a root. He fell, his flashlight tumbling from his grasp, the beam spinning wildly, casting grotesque shadows that danced and writhed around him. He scrambled back, his eyes wide with terror, until his back hit the rough bark of a tree. He looked up, his gaze drawn to the clearing ahead. Lanterns hung from the branches, dozens of them, their flames flickering eerily in the darkness. But it was the lanterns themselves that sent a fresh wave of terror through him. They were carved in the shape of faces, grotesque and contorted in silent screams. Their eyes, hollowed out and empty, seemed to follow his every move. The whispering intensified, swirling around him like a living thing. He felt a cold hand close around his wrist, the touch sending a jolt of fear through him. He didn't dare look down. The child's laughter echoed in his ears, chilling and triumphant. He glimpsed her one last time, her eyes burning into his, her grin widening, revealing the abyss of her throat. Then everything went black. The villagers found his flashlight the next morning lying abandoned on the path, its beams still illuminating the darkness. They searched for him, but the forest had swallowed him whole. The villagers of Hollow Creek never spoke of what happened to Daniel. They knew in their hearts that he had become another victim of the Whispering Forest, another soul claimed by the darkness that lurked within its depths. The whispers continued, however, rustling through the leaves, a constant reminder of the secrets hidden within the heart of the woods. Life in Hollow Creek returned to its eerie normalcy. The villagers kept to themselves, their fear of the forest a tangible presence. They avoided the path where the flashlight had been found, their eyes darting nervously towards the tree line. The flashlight itself remained untouched, its beam a beacon in the encroaching darkness. Some whispered that it was a warning, a reminder of the forest's hunger. Others believed it was a sign, a beacon for lost souls forever trapped within the Whispering Woods. Whatever the truth, the Whispering Forest held its secrets close. The laughter continued to echo through the trees, a chilling testament to the darkness that lay at the heart of the forgotten woods. And as the sun set each night, casting long shadows across the village of Hollow Creek, the villagers knew, with a shudder, that the forest was listening.